I labeled myself as an earth optimist because from being a super negative and pessimistic person about the environment and always just talking about, the world's gonna burn and, we can't do anything about it. I've sort of transformed the way I look at conservation, and I now see it always as, we always have an opportunity to do something about it, but we have to start now. But definitely we can still do something about it. So, don't lose hope yet. Just hold on to the tiny, tiny sliver of hope, because definitely, there's still so much work to do. So, there's no need for you to stand in the corner and be sad about it. Of course, you can have that, no, but after that, you get up and then you start working again.
Welcome to Breaking Silos Collective, the show where we inform you how to break silos and why it actually matters. My name is Doris Carini. I'm the co-host of today's show, and I'm also the Europe ambassador of the East-West Center Experiential Professional Development Program. Today's episode is 1 out of 15. We are interviewing the 2021 Innovation for Sustainable Development Fellows of the East-West Center. The fellows are usually under the age of 40. They are experts in the field of art, education, health, disaster resilience management, and climate change. On the show today, I have Ms. Tricia Angelika Firman from the Philippines, and she has a project that is called Teachers for the Planet, with the goal to educate staff and faculty on conservation, so to help more campuses in Davao City to use conservation work in their everyday life on the campus. And she's trying to create a prototype that can then replicate it in other places too. A little bit about Tricia. She is a storyteller, a teacher, and an earth optimist, which I find a wonderful combination, and I can't wait to learn about all these terms. Tricia is also a master's student in education administration, and she started her advocacy work in environmental conservation in 2018 at the YSEALI Mindanao SEA Camp after winning a grant for Mermaid Tales, a storytelling caravan on marine conservation for coastal communities in Davao City. In 2020, Tricia became the Philippine delegate for the YSEALI Academic Fellows Institute of Environment and Natural Resource Management at the East-West Center, and in the same year she co-founded and won a grant for Schools for the Planet. And now we're going to learn about Teachers for the Planet. I'm very happy to have Tricia on the show. Let us know, Tricia, how you got involved and what the projects are doing right now.
All right. Thanks, Doris. Hello, everyone. So I think I'd like to talk first about Schools for the Planet, and like how we came to organize it, and then how we came to organize after that Teachers for the Planet. So Schools for the Planet really started because of my love for schools. I'm definitely that weird kid who actually likes to go to school and actually likes her teachers, likes to study and all of that. And then when I got into conservation, I then saw the potential of schools being that place where we can nurture and plant and nurture these dreams and also these skills in being conservationists for the planet. And so when I started my work in advocacy, I wanted to bring that to schools. I wanted to do it in the place where I am most happy. And so, we thought of Schools for the Planet, but there's actually another story to that, it was a shared experience of Chit and I, who are the co-founders of this. And it's that when we were in school, we didn't really have access to, to all these environmental programs that we wanted. We were always seeking for, opportunities to learn more, to be more involved, but maybe the opportunities that were available to us weren't as attractive to us, or there weren't a lot. And so there is this, we when we created Schools for the Planet, it was because we wanted to create these opportunities for students like us who also wants to work on conservation. And we hope that by creating Schools for the Planet, they will then have the opportunities that we never had. um, so mainly, the primarily the clientele of Schools for the Planet was, as you mentioned earlier, was school-based organizations. We were actually focusing more on the youth, but then later on, thinking forward, we realized that once these participants finish the program and then they go back to schools, they don't implement the initiatives in isolation. It's always done with the school community. And the school community isn't just the students, it involves the teachers, the administrators, the staff. And if we want their projects to be successful, want it to be sustainable, and if we want to encourage more students to also do the same, everyone needs to jump in and, support and also give their input to these projects. And so with that, we also thought of engaging and empowering the teachers as well. So not only just the teachers. When I say Teachers for the Planet, it's not just the ones who are in the classroom, but also administrators and even the staff that works in the school. So that's how it all came to be.
So are you saying that the way you define teachers is very different from how most people understand teachers? Are you saying anyone can be a teacher and part of your project?
Yes, definitely. In the Philippines, people who are usually in the office work, doing office work, are actually also teachers. It's only that, they've been given a different responsibility, but they are still teachers. And even administrators, before they become administrators, they are teachers first. So to me, everyone really is a teacher in the school community. Even the community members are, in a way, teachers as well.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So, Tricia, can you tell us a little bit how the Teachers for the Project is going? That was also a question by your co-fellow, Christina, also from the Philippines. She was curious how the project is doing and, yeah, what challenges you have encountered so far with that very specific human-centered approach that you're using, if I'm correct.
Yes. So that's a great question, and I'm happy that people are asking how we're doing. So from a one woman team, because I started out on my own, it was supposed to be with my partner Chit, but she's in Myanmar, and we all know the situation there. So from a one woman team, I am now working. We have grown into a team of six. I'm actually working with my old students who are also in their education program, so they're very much interested and engaged in working with me on this project. And as of now, we are currently communicating with our stakeholders, which is the Department of Education in Davao City. We have reached out to them. We have established a partnership. We have also selected two schools that we will be partnering with for the pilot of the prototypes. And as for those two schools, we have started communicating with them. I actually visited the schools, I think 3 weeks ago, and I met the school heads. They toured me around. The schools are beautiful, by the way. And I've also had some initial conversations with the teachers because they were asking about the project. And what was great about these schools is that we have chosen one school in the city, in the urban setting, and then we have chosen another school that's somehow near the forests. So we wanted to see how different the prototypes would be with the school that's in the city and the school that's away from the city. So that's where we are as of now.
Interesting. Nice. And have you encountered any challenges so far with that approach? Or maybe we should talk about that human-centered approach first. Tricia, can you speak more to that? You mentioned in your papers that you've shared with us that it's also a design thinking approach you're using with the Teachers for the Planet approach. Yeah, how is that going? And are there any challenges that come with that?
Yes, great question. since we haven't really implemented it yet, what I can share about the challenges are just some things I've read as well. Some things that the
Mhm.
readings told us we would be expecting, and that would be first, the results are unpredictable because we are highly dependent on our participants' motivation and interest. Second is that it can take a lot of time and it might involve a lot of trial and error. Um, which can honestly be exhausting for both the organizers and the participants as well. But when we chose this approach, we were thinking that we wanted the teachers to design the programs that they will be experiencing, because we wanted them to to consider their unique contexts. Actually, in the Philippines, well, in most schools in the Philippines, the teachers have a lot of work to do. They're doing a lot of things really, and so we were thinking that if we were to introduce another program that we have created, that my team created in isolation, I don't know, without considering their external context, without considering the work they have to do, I don't think the project will be very attractive to them. And so we were thinking that maybe if we co-design it together, like really them giving the suggestion, like okay, these are the things that we can do, these are the things we can't do, these are the resources we have, this is what we don't have here. So when we bring all that together, when we co-create the prototypes, this might be more attractive to them because first, they created it, so there's a sense of ownership, and second, it's really contextualized to what they can do to their needs and to the needs of the community as well. So we assume that they will be very responsive to it. But of course, when we again when we chose this approach, we already accepted all the other possible challenges we might face. But still, it doesn't really make me feel scared about doing this, because to me what is important is that the projects are created by the teachers, co-created by the teachers, and that it is something that they own and it is something that they will want to go through or experience.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a great point you're making. It needs to be owned by the teachers to implement it. Um, that was a question that Tinley from Bhutan, your co-fellow, asked. He was saying, why would a teacher sign up to participate in this training, right?
Yeah.
What's the big value that they get out of it?
Okay. Yeah, that was really a great question. So climate education is actually a growing trend in our country for the past few years.
Mhm.
I've been joining different webinars, and I'm also involved in other programs on climate education, and we see that we're now slowly um, working on capacitating the teachers to be climate educators. So, there's a trend, there's a growing trend, and
Mhm.
um, our offering, what we are offering here is just is another opportunity for them to build on the knowledge, to build on the skills that they will need to become climate educators, to become environmental educators. But the only difference is that in the other programs, they're focusing more on knowledge building, skills building, because they have a module to implement. But in Teachers for the Planet, we wanted to focus more on the shift of their behaviors, on the shift of perspectives, and helping the teachers create a or teachers develop a deeper personal connection with the environment, because we believe that when they do
Mhm.
that, when they're able to see their role in the greater scheme of things, they're able to improve the way that they teach, the way that they look at their roles as a teacher in a world that is going through a lot at the moment, and they're also able to enhance the way that they look at it, and the way that they think about the things that they do every day, because they would then realize that whatever I do has an effect on the planet, and when the planet is affected, it also affects me. So those are the things that we're going for with Teachers for the Planet. We really want to complement the existing initiatives that the country is doing. So that they're doing, they're capacitating, they're giving knowledge, and then on the other hand, what we're trying to help them by really by co-designing with the teachers programs that will enhance their love for the environment and understand their deep personal connection with it.
Mhm. And is your program free for the teachers to join, or does the administration of the school pays for it, or how does that work?
Okay. For now, it is still, since we're still doing the piloting as of the moment, it's still free.
Mhm.
But then I did ask around about, is there a budget for this if ever we wanted to be paid, or if we were to invite speakers, especially when it becomes bigger, if we're planning to scale it up. And they do have a fund for that. It's part of the teacher development fund of each school. They have that. So definitely, it's possible in the future for it to be a paid program, but as of the moment, we still have funds anyway, so we can still do it for free, and that's something I don't really mind. So
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, and what is the response so far? You said it's a prototype, and you have already a school in the city and one school more in the um, rural area or closer to the forests, you were saying. How many teachers do you expect to participate?
mm. um so as of now, we're hoping to at least engage with around maybe 10 to 15 teachers first, but that also includes administrators and other non-teaching
Mhm.
staff. Mainly
Yep.
our qualification for this is that teachers who maybe have a small experience of have an experience or interest when it comes to environmental initiatives, so that it's easier for us to connect with them and for them to also realize the purpose of the program. So we will sort of consider them as the frontliners or the leaders of the environmental initiatives in their schools.
Mhm. And Tricia, why did you choose Davao City to implement your project? That was a question also from the Philippines, wanted to know, is there a specific reason, or maybe just as simple as because it's your own home station, so to say?
Yeah. Well, logistically, it's easier for me because I'm in Davao, and it's easier for me to move around. I think it's very important that I actually meet the teachers at least once in a while. We get to see each other, and we also get to see the schools. And another reason is the language and the culture. It really will help us with the approach that we're using because it's human centered. So since we're all Davaoenos, it's easier to connect with them, and it's easier to just get in with the program and kick it off because we know each other
Mhm.
culturally.
Firth also wanted to know if you can give examples of how you're contextualizing your materials to the schools in the city.
I see. So as for that question, we don't really have um, we don't really have a lot of materials to work with yet other than the design of our programs, but the human-centered approach is pretty much the way that we're contextualizing is of course using our own language here in the city, and also just considering the time and the context of our teachers, because right now it's actually the first week of classes in the Philippines. So everyone's quite busy, so we don't really want to interfere with their routines and their usual things, the system in the school. So that's sort of the adjustments that we're making as we're implementing the program.
Mhm. And for the future, Tricia, do you expect that school in the same city are different from one another? Or do you think that Teachers for the Planet project can be basically replicated in almost any school setting?
Yes, I am hoping that this will be replicated in any school settings.
Mhm.
One of the reasons why I chose Davao, because there's a diversity of schools here. We have schools in the city, near the ocean, near mountains, near rivers, watersheds, and so I actually would want to explore that and partner with those schools and see how they're able to customize their programs according to their contexts. So, and we want to show that, you know, no matter how different the school is, the program can still run. Can be so
Mhm.
it can be definitely replicated in, you know, schools regardless of um, their context and backgrounds.
Tricia, your co-fellow Marina from Brazil um, raised an interesting question. She said that she read about Malcolm Knowles and his assumptions on adult learning and the adult learning process are very interesting. His assumption is that adults are mostly intrinsically motivated to study and learn. So she would like to know what's the project intending to how will you intend to motivate teachers and adults in your project?
Yeah. Oh, this was a good question. Um, so as for teachers for the planet, the motivation, we're hoping that it will come in two phases. So the first one is, of course, the more practical one, which is more related to this, to the one mentioned by Knowles. It's that this training on developing their environmental literacy is a good opportunity for them to enhance their skills, and they actually can use this for their promotion. So and in my observation, that's already a very good motivating factor. They do love to join programs and webinars like this, more so now that there is this trend to, you know, learn more and be trained more on climate education. So that's the first phase of the motivation that we're hoping. But from that, we want to then slowly introduce a new source of motivation for them to be engaged and committed to the program, and that is really, you know, guiding them into discovering their deep personal connection to the environment, like having them realize again that whatever they do has an effect on the planet, and that it affects them back as well. So we're hoping that once they're able to identify the importance of conservation in the context of their personal lives, not just as teachers but as, you know, people living in this planet, it can then become a second source of motivation to be engaged and committed in Teachers for the Planet.
Nice. And what were your responses so far? You said you met with the schools and you talked to some of the teachers already. What was their first feedback or first response when you introduced that project to them?
Okay, I'll try to remember some really nice ones. In our second school, I was with a teacher, Annie, and I was talking to them about, oh, this is my plan. So we hope to co-design programs for you. And I was asking actually about what existing programs do you have, and they said they're not really very aware of it. Like they know that there's a program, but they're not very involved. So they just know it exists. So I told them that in the project that we're making, that we're planning to do with them, they would be very much engaged, not just in the implementation, but in the creation, in the planning, in the brainstorming itself. And initially, they were it's something new to them, but they're very much looking forward to it because most of them are actually teachers that I already know. So we already
Mhm.
have that connection, and they're excited to be working with our organization. They're really just excited to have these other people be interested in the programs they have in this school, because the second school I'm working on actually was they had an award before of being an environmentally friendly school, but
Mhm.
the teachers, they weren't able to maintain they weren't able to maintain that those programs and initiatives, and they wanted to sort of revive that, especially with the new administration in the school, and also with the new teachers that are part of their families now. So they're hoping to have the opportunity to explore what other things they can do, especially now that it's the pandemic and they're at home. So that's why the projects that we're hoping that they would be co-creating together are not necessarily yet school based or school focused, but more teacher focused.
Mhm.
So because we want to work on them first before we do the implementation in the schools.
Can you give us an example? What type of kind of program or training could that be?
Yeah. So for now, what I could think of, based on also the age range of the teachers we have, is really they're very much into gardening these days. They're very much into nature sighting and things like that. So, and also since we're all stuck at home, and there's been so many terrible things that we have experienced for the past few months, there's also an increase in relying very much on faith and religion. So here I want to insert something I learned from the institute, which is on faith and environment. So we sort of want to also suggest, really, maybe integrating reflection and more of
Mhm.
mindfulness when it comes to understanding their connection to the environment, and maybe um, that will sort of start the shift in their behavior, in how they view their roles and connections with environment. So these are just some of the things I'm imagining. So we don't
Mhm.
really know what they're gonna suggest. I'm actually very excited as to what they'll be co-creating with us. But these are just things that we will suggest to them, because
Mhm.
we have seen that it has the potential to be like a good idea or a good concept to weave into their programs that they'll be creating
Mhm.
together.
Are you already thinking of how can we kind of see the quality level of our outcomes? Are you and your team already thinking of, or with the teachers maybe together, what could be measures to look at after the first round of implementation?
Yes. So for this, definitely we're thinking of a pre-test, post-test first, just to
Mhm.
measure their basic understanding of environmental concepts. But then what we're really banking on is the conversations, the qualitative data that we'll get from the focus group discussions, maybe some journaling as well, just to check to see if they have seen some improvement or development in the way they understand their connection to the environment. So for now, that is what we can do because of the limitations that we have. But definitely, when we can go back to our schools, we want to see it manifested not just in the way the teachers are teaching, but also in the way the school is run, in how the school looks, because that's also one of the factors. And this one's observable. And one of our plans actually is to also um, assist them in re-evaluating the environmental policies that they have in school, and check to see if they have been successfully implementing these policies since they established it, and maybe what areas do they need assistance, and if maybe the programs they've created can address that gap. So
Yeah,
those are just the things we're thinking of as of now.
yeah. And Tricia, since you're now running a prototype, right? That's your first prototype. One question Marina also had from Brazil was if you could talk a little bit more about the steps you're taking to actually design that first prototype. How long did it take you? What was involved? And yeah, give us a little bit of a background information here.
All right. So the we haven't really started the prototype yet, the full on launch, because we haven't
Mhm.
because of all the limitations. But anyway, we do already have plans as to how we will be running the program with the teachers. We will be, of course, starting with the focus group discussions and conversations with them, because we really want to build rapport with the teachers first and be able to um, establish that connection with them, because we will be working with them for weeks or months maybe. And then something I also mentioned in the document I gave them was that we were planning to also use appreciative inquiry as one of our approaches in the focus group discussions. I personally have experience going through appreciative inquiry, and I saw how it can assist us in creating the prototype. I saw the potential of it. So maybe we will be, after we do the FGDs with the teachers, we'll then slowly start in the prototype making, and we'll definitely start with appreciative inquiry as one of our approaches. Yeah.
Okay, for our viewers who may not be familiar with that concept, can you share a little bit how it works?
Okay, great. So disclaimer, I'm not yet the best. I'm not the best person to ask about this. I'm not an expert in this yet, but in my experience, appreciative inquiry is really focusing on the best of what we have,
Mhm.
focusing on the resources that we have, the skills that we have, which is, definitely what we want the teachers to do. And then in appreciative inquiry, there are 5 steps. So we have, there's design. Sorry, I can't remember it all, but design, dream, um, and I can't mention the others, but there are 5 steps to it that the teachers will be going through, and we believe that all these steps are very helpful as we co-create the prototype with them. So we're looking forward to the conversations, really the
Mhm.
dialogues that we'll have with them. Yeah, so we're looking forward to using AI as our approach in the
Mhm.
FETs.
Nice. So basically, looking at the bright side and at the positive
Yeah.
things, that's also an approach with the Earth optimism. I would think that's one thing you named yourself or gave yourself the title of an Earth optimist. Can you share with us a little bit what that means for you and how you make that part of your work that you're doing?
Okay, wow, I love this question. Honestly, before labeling myself an Earth optimist, I was really that kind of advocate who was like very negative and sad about the planet. Really, I tell you. But then after coming across this concept in the academic fellows back in 2020, really, this after being involved with the course itself and learning, all the
Mhm.
things about Earth optimism, I've grown to see the positive side of things, and really being surprised that there's a positive side to whatever is happening to the planet at the moment. Sometimes it doesn't really get highlighted, especially in the news. It's always just the doom and gloom, and it's really true that it's very paralyzing, especially for people who may not be into the advocacy yet. If you go to them and you encourage them to be advocates, and you start with the doom and gloom, it's not always the most effective way to get them to join in. For some people it could be, but for others it sort of paralyzes them and makes them think, okay, so is it too late for me now to do anything, because
Mhm.
the ice caps are melting, and and animals are going extinct and things like that. But then you discover about Earth optimism, and then you get to see that, yes, all right, there are, terrible things are happening, but also great things are happening, because people are definitely working on many many things. I mean, Teachers for the Planet is just one of the many, many initiatives and projects, not just in the Philippines, but in the whole world, that's really, doing their part in saving the planet. So definitely people are working. We have the East West Center is hosting Innovation Fellows every year, and they've helped a lot of innovators already. And these are people from different parts of the country who are already doing their part. So as much as it's important to also recognize that things are bad, that some things are bad, it's also very essential, not just for us, not just because it's important to acknowledge the work of other people, but mentally,
Mhm.
emotionally, it's also important to recognize, things that some things are actually getting better. And I'm really very grateful that I encountered this concept. That's why I attached it to I labeled myself as an Earth optimist, because from being a super negative and pessimistic person about the
Mhm.
environment, and always just talking about, the world's gonna burn, and we can't do anything about it, I've sort of transformed the way I look at conservation, and I now see it always as, we always have an opportunity to do something about it, and but we have to start now. But definitely we can still do something about it. So,
Mhm.
don't lose hope yet. Just hold on to the tiny, tiny sliver of hope, because definitely, there's still so much work to do. So, there's no need for you to stand in the corner and be sad about it. Of course, you can have that, no, but after that, you get up and then you start working again.
Mhm. Wonderful. So the Teachers for the Planet will hopefully be turned into Earth Optimist after attending or co-creating the program with you, and then can inspire a lot more students. I was curious, do you have feedback from students already, which were part of the Schools for the Planet program? What do they actually say, or how do they experience that program?
Okay. So in one of the virtual workshops that we did, we surprisingly got a variety of student leaders who are working on environmental conservation. We had people who were very experienced, and then we had students who were just starting out in the advocacy, and they really all have all these they have these preconceived notions of how advocacy work should be like. And so in joining the program and in meeting other environmental advocates, they were able to take a step back and sort of reevaluate what they were doing and say, oh, we've been doing it wrong, so maybe we can try a different approach.
Mhm.
Actually, Earth Optimism was very helpful in our virtual workshops, because a lot of the projects were starting, we're doing their advocacy campaigning using the doom and gloom, and then they
Mhm.
were sharing like, some people are very responsive to our campaigns. They're not really joining the programs, and then we were able to identify, oh, maybe they're afraid. No, they feel like they have nothing else to do because you're saying that the world is uh, probably burning and things like that. And so they're able to sort of just reframe their mindset, reframe their perspectives on conservation. Other things they've mentioned, they were very appreciative that the space we offered for them was a safe and non-judgmental space. I
Mhm.
think it's very important for young conservationists to have that space to just make mistakes, because if you're new to the advocacy, you're definitely gonna get things wrong. You'll think that um you'll sometimes maybe be radical, too radical, or you'll be you'll ignore some important aspects of conservation. And we wanted to give them that space to just make mistakes, and then relearn some things and unlearn some things as well, and they were grateful for that. Maybe because they don't really have a lot of opportunities to sort of talk about talk about their preconceived notions on things, or maybe they didn't have the opportunity to run the ideas with another person and say, hey, are we doing this right? Is this the right approach, and things like that. So they were very thankful for that. And it was really, I owe it, we really owe it all, that safe space. I owe it all to the team that I worked with for the virtual institute, virtual workshops. They were very open and they were very friendly. These were actually my friends who are also environmental advocates. So because of their help, and also because of the participants' help, we were able to create really this very warm, open space to just
Mhm.
start our journey in becoming environmental conservationists.
Nice. And who do you think are other important stakeholders for the Teachers for the Planet program? Who did you need to get on board besides the schools, of course? But are there any other players in your community that play a crucial role?
Mm. Definitely the Department of Education,
Mm-hmm.
the administrators of the division of Davao City. We had to really convince them that this is a worthwhile project to believe in, because the schools we're working with are actually public schools, so we really do need their permission. And but more than that, it's more than the permission. We are also asking for their support to continue supporting the projects that the teachers will make, so to ensure sustainability of the prototypes we'll be making together. So they are on board as of now, but we will also be doing a program with the division themselves so that they will also be involved. So we will also, I'm looking forward to um, running the same program with the administrators in the division. So but that's still something we will be doing maybe in the far future. But as of now, focusing on schools, making sure that the administrators themselves in the division are very much supportive of what the teachers are doing, so that we can ensure that this will continue on even after we even after they're done with the program itself.
Mm-hmm. And just out of curiosity, but do parents play a crucial role in your project? Are you consider bringing them on board, or is it just teachers and students in the traditional setting?
Yes. I really wish that we could do this face to face, because in my original plan, it's really not just the teachers, but the parents and also the community members that's
Mhm.
surrounding the school. That's because that's really what I believe that it in if we create a community based and human centered design for the school community, everyone has to be involved. It has to be, it has to be a collaboration of not just the teachers, not just the administrators, but the parents and the neighboring communities as well. And in fact, the schools we have chosen, their parents association and also the neighboring communities are actually supportive of the other programs that they have been launching. Not necessarily related to the environment, but more of
Mhm.
maybe like feeding programs or beautification programs of the school. So we already know that the parents are actually engaged, and that the communities are also very responsive. So now we are very hopeful that maybe, after running the program with the teachers, maybe slowly we can tap some stakeholders from those sectors.
Mhm.
I'm very much open to that. We're still building the program anyway. So there is a great possibility that in when we make the prototype, we might really get the inputs and the comments as well of other stakeholders.
Nice. Okay, Tricia, would you like to share with us, and we ask that question all our guests on the show, what does breaking silos mean to you?
Hmm. So I think in my own understanding of what a silo is what I imagine is someone who's in an enclosed space, in their own bubbles. And in breaking silos, we sort of get out of that, that isolation, that idea that we live by ourselves, that anything we do doesn't really affect others, but it only affects us. And in breaking silos, we're able to get out of that shell, get out of that bubble, and recognize that the things that we do, to ourselves, to the planet, and to others actually has an effect on everyone. And in doing so, we're able to do things better. We're able to approach and interact with others better, and we're able to create projects that are not really for the individual or the personal gain, but more of something that benefits a lot of other people.
Yeah. Wonderful. And what would you say, Tricia, if you want to give advice to someone else who wants to get started in sustainable development projects? Is there anything you could share for our viewers or other fellows? How can one get started in making change?
Mm. Um, when I say this advice to others, I'm also saying this to myself, sort of a self reminder, and that is to not be too hard on yourself, especially if you're still starting out in advocacy work, and to not feel insecure about all the other projects and all these amazing people who are doing their work. So instead of feeling down about it, instead of feeling negative about it, look at them as inspiration, and look at it in a positive way, that oh my god, people are creating these great changes, and I am also, in my small ways, trying to do the same thing. And even though you cannot see the immediate results of what you're doing, you just keep on doing it, keep on working on it, keep on holding on to that hope that eventually, the effects or the impacts of what you're doing will be seen by the future generation. And I think that matters more than seeing the fast results, right here, right now. So that's it.
Thank you, Tricia. I'm really inspired by your work that you're doing and look forward to seeing some results when the Teachers for the Planet project has launched. For all our viewers, thank you for watching. And if you're interested in learning more about Tricia's work, we have the links to her projects enclosed in the description box below. Please feel free to share the video with other friends and your network, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more interviews to come. Thank you from me, from Breaking Silos Collective, and from my guest, Tricia Angelika Firman, for being on the show. Thank you, and hope to see you all soon. Bye.